keep them the same. Okay, it's 5:30. All right, the September, oh, sorry, are you ready? The September 10th, 2025 regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen will come to order. Please join us in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So this meeting, we wanted to start with a moment of silence and observing September 11th tomorrow, and as it's the 24th anniversary of this tragic day, I would just ask that you all take a moment of silence with us. Thank you. We thank the Mystic Fire Department puts together an event every year, as does St. Michael's, and they all do a really wonderful, beautiful job with it. So people looking to participate, there are two different things tomorrow.
Isn't there, wait, you said Mystic Fire?
Yeah.
That's usually in front of the station.
Yeah.
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 They do.
You said St. Michael's.
They also do one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's two, so one on each side of town. So just as a recap, during our last meeting, Deb and I revisited, talking about the K-12 building committee, we revisited the discussion that we started at the August meeting, maybe even July meeting, just to talk about the best way to proceed given all the different variables and factors. So we had both thought it would be best to delay the appointments to the committee until our November meeting following the election, and this would allow individuals who are not elected to be, if any individuals are not elected, to be considered for appointments as citizen members. As we've shared previously, our goal is to ensure that the committee is balanced and avoids over-representation. So individuals currently serving on or running for the Board of Finance, Board of Ed, we've asked them to discuss their intentions with their respective boards, and those bodies will be responsible for selecting their own official representative. We understand that some current or prospective Board of Finance, Board of Ed members may wish to be considered in a personal capacity. However, we explained to them, and I think everyone so far has taken it pretty well and seemed to be understanding that we want to avoid a scenario where the majority of the committee is just only made up really of Board of Finance and Board of Ed members, even if they, I think, in the best of intentions are meaning to serve in a different capacity. So my hope and thought is that we try and move forward with appointing the K-12 building committee at our November meeting, which will be our last meeting, with the exception of the representatives from the Board of Finance and Board of Ed, since those boards will not convene until after the November election, and then they'll be able to appoint their members, and then the committee could officially hopefully start meeting then in January. I did run this by the superintendent, and I think given that the Board of Finance has already approved funds and everybody's working towards the kind of short to medium, however you look at it, term solution with the trailers and the investment in changing out the second floor of the Stonington Middle School. I think a lot of those immediate needs were met, so I don't think it's quite as time sensitive as it originally had been when trying to speed through everything to figure everything out. And it's, I think, just better to get it done correctly. And I think just to say, we did hear from one, maybe even two members that were Board of Ed or Board of Finance, people who are up and running, and they seem to agree with the process. Because again, if they don't happen to get elected or re-elected, I think they still like to be considered for this committee. So I have all that to say is my thoughts. What are your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, only one question to add to the discussion is what about Board of Selectmen representative?
That would also be after.
I think they would just have to, Stacy and I talked about this a little bit because I brought kind of that similar thing up, and you're speaking of the awkward off the camera, but if you want to, but our board, their board, whoever is here, is a little bit different since they are typically the appointing body, so that we're not going to ask, I think, those candidates to come and interview with us, that whoever gets seated of the three of them, they should just decide who should be their representative, just because the Board of Selectmen is a little bit different in that capacity. And I think it might be a little weird interviewing people who are taking all of our seats. Whereas the Board of Ed and Board of Finance, I think it's helpful, it'll be recorded, they can all see it. Obviously, they're much larger boards, but again, if you guys disagree and we want to ask whoever wants to be a rep, they could come and interview, or they could just decide themselves that they'll meet for the first time the second meeting in November, so they'll have time to do it. Oh, December, sorry, because that's Thanksgiving. They'll meet the first meeting will be that second week of December, so they'll have time to do it. And I think the Board of Ed similarly doesn't meet till December 11th, so they wouldn't be appointing anybody until then anyways.
So our November meeting is after the election.
The day after, right?
Day after.
Is it? No,
No,
the
it's the week
after.
after.
It's the week after.
It's like the 12th.
Yes, that's right.
So
yeah.
then we don't have another meeting in November.
Just the
Because new
12th.
Yeah, and then the new Board of Selectmen won't meet in November?
Because it's Thanksgiving, so
Oh,
it's the
okay.
Wednesday before, so we always cancel that one.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
so
it's,
They'll meet the second.
December 12th or
Yeah.
11th,
Yeah,
or 10th.
December.
They'll get sworn in on the
10th.
19th.
yeah,
Yeah, but.
gotcha.
yeah.
Okay, no, I wasn't clear about that.
Yeah, this whole thing is kind of a logistical mind boggle.
Yeah. But it just seems weird to me for us to be picking which of them. I mean, they're going to be the board, they should make that decision themselves. And
Well, yeah, I mean, if we're seating the board now, by rights, we should be picking one of us.
Yes, except if we wait
for
till
that
that,
1 week,
if we
for
wait-
3 days.
yeah.
I mean,
yeah, if we wait till that November, whatever it is, whatever, the November meeting, we would just say we're holding the seats open for whoever is appointed from the elected boards, and then the new Board of Selectmen would just make it official, and then everybody for K through 12 would meet in January. So we wouldn't be missing any.
Because if we appointed someone at that meeting, one of the three of us, literally it would be 6 days.
Yeah, no, I understand.
So it seems.
That's the quandary.
Yeah, and I think, just to say, like, I don't know, yes, Board of Finance will be in the same situation. They won't be able to appoint anybody till December 3rd or whatever your first week in December meeting is, and then the Board of Ed doesn't meet till the second week of December, so nobody will be appointing people from those boards until later.
But I tend to agree that since we kind of have this interim solution that's ongoing with the trailers, that,
It's not.
you know, it'll be more the long-term facilities issues that the K-12 will be looking at, not, you know, really, I mean, not that they won't be concentrating on the middle school, but, you know, waiting till January, I don't think would be a hardship.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that. I don't think a couple months is going to make a big difference.
So this just, it's still a little confusing, but I feel like it makes it a little cleaner versus trying to do something speedy and have these interim people just to get replaced in a month. So if we just wait, I think, till that November timeframe, and then the rest of the boards can officially vote on their people when they have their new board, and hopefully they can start meeting in January.
Mhm.
Any other thoughts on that timeframe?
No, I think that looks great.
I'm not sorry, Billy made you sit through all that. So then our next thing would be, we have a few things, and then we'll get to that. We, just as a reminder, you guys know everybody that we interviewed on July 23rd and August 13th. And so we can have, Bill, do you want to come up now? Do you want to come up now and do the interview?
Sure, what do you want?
You want to sit here so we can get you on camera?
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to come. I know this is a bit of a different process that we're kind of making up as we go.
Okay,
So we're making it up as we go. That's all right, it doesn't look good.
We think fast on our feet. Ben, do you want to start the first question?
Oh, sure. Evening, Bill.
hi.
What is your opinion of the responsibilities and primary function of the K-12 building committee?
Well, the building committee, the principal issue the building committee is going to have to tackle is the middle school problem, the long-term middle school problem. But the high school is also at 20 years, so it's theoretically at a renovation cycle. So the building committee will be responsible for identifying solutions to the current infrastructure issues with the existing middle school buildings. There's questions about what needs to happen with Miss Tuxet. Field Street, both sites, both existing middle school sites are old, and neither one has the acreage that is typically expected of a modern middle school. So the building committee is essentially going to have to do what it did for the elementary schools. It's going to have to look at a range of options from an all-new school somewhere to, well, the two boundaries are an all-new school and doing nothing, but doing nothing isn't a viable path. So what we did with the elementary school projects is we laid out, I think, 5 or 6 different options. And as you go through that process, you narrow your focus to a solution that's workable and affordable and solves the problem. But you have to start with a completely open mind. If you go into this process with preconceived ideas, or that you think you know the right answer, you're going to miss something. I've spent a lot of time thinking about the middle school issue because I was thinking about that when we were starting on the elementary school projects. In fact, we looked at the idea of a new middle school. We couldn't find a place to put it. It was more expensive than we thought the town could afford or would support. Had we gone down that path and we tried to turn Miss Tuxet into a elementary school, we might have discovered that wasn't viable as we got into it. So you have to go in there with an understanding what the problem is and a completely open mind to where you might end up as solving the problem. One idea that hadn't really been on my radar until the superintendent mentioned it during the budget season was that this issue of the high school is 20 years old. It's starting to show its age. The state supports a 20-year renovation cycle on school buildings. The possibility of co-locating the middle school students with the high school students wasn't really on my radar because I didn't think the administration would support it. I think there's some issues with doing that because of space across the street and stuff like that. But as soon as the superintendent mentioned it, I realized, you gotta keep an open mind and try to figure out where that idea might take you. So, is that?
Yes, great, thank you, that's great.
Get at what you're asking?
Very much. Yes, the next one. Please share any relevant experience you have serving on a committee, in a volunteer role, or through your professional background. We're especially interested in learning about the unique skills, perspectives, or expertise you would contribute to the K-12 building committee.
Okay, well, first of all, the reason I'm here is because I'm on the Board of Finance. And I am not up for re-election, so I will continue to be on the Board of Finance. And I'm here because I'm interested in being the Board of Finance rep. Serving as just a member of the public I don't think that's an option for me because I think you can only have one person from a Board of Finance or a Board of Education, so those boards are speaking with one voice. As far as my background, I have 38 years experience as a federal employee, both as a technical person. They called me a scientist, but I did sort of general technical work across a broad range of complex problems related to naval warfare. Concurrent with that, over 4 decades of work, I became an expert in government acquisition, both at the beginning in terms of developing statements of work, receiving and evaluating proposals, and getting to picking a contractor. And then the last 20 years of my career was actually spent, I was involved in running a contract oversight program post-award that the primary focus was ensuring that Uncle Sam got what he was paying for on government contracts. In fact, I taught a course I trained other people in doing that work, and over a 10-year period, probably, I think I had over 1,000 people cycle through my course. So I have a lot of relevant experience to the front end work for this committee, and in fact, on the K-12 building committee, and there were a lot of people involved in the elementary school projects. Everybody contributed. I think one of my principal contributions was because of my background in acquisition, I was able to lead a process of hiring the architect, the builder, and the owner's rep. I organized that process. I made sure that that process was completely open for all the members of the board. Everybody was involved in evaluating the proposals. There were some other members of the K-12 committee that, as we narrowed our focus we got down to where we were looking at 2 architects. Some other members of the K-12 building committee actually went off and toured different projects those architects had done. They came back and their recommendation, at the end of that process, we were, it was unanimous in which architect we wanted to hire. And it came down to, both were qualified firms, but we felt the firm we went with, DRA, was a better fit for us, and the team that went off and looked at the projects came back and they just liked the way those buildings felt. And that's a relevant factor to consider in making an award decision.
Thank you. The schools came out great, so.
What's that?
The schools came out great, so you guys did a good job.
The other major contribution, I think, which is kind of the background, was I became aware at the very end of this process when we were filing for the state grant that we were stalled. And I ended up spending a day with Bill King, entering the information into the online application process, and we got it done 2 days before it was due. And I think the skill set I brought to that was a lot of experience filling out government applications.
Oh, that's great, thank you. And the last question is really just like, what would you consider to be a successful outcome to your tenure with the authority when the K-12 building committee is hopefully completed?
Well, when I drive by the 2 current elementary schools, and I was involved at the very front end, and I think, again, getting back to my major contribution there was helping get the projects off the ground by hiring, leading the process that led us to hire the architect, the builder, and the building rep. And so when I drive by those buildings today, I look at them and I say, I helped do that. And that's success to me, is a finished project that reflects the quality and the character of this town. Right now, for a variety of reasons, including financial, we have 2 very tired buildings. We should have, whatever we end up with, it should be a modern school environment that is worthy of this town.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you guys have any follow-up questions
No.
for Phil? Thank you, and thank you for all the work you've done on this committee.
Well,
And you heard
thank
our
you guys.
deliberations, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I understand. It's a little odd being interviewed for a position. It's going to be determined by whoever the rep from the Board of Finance ultimately is going to determine.
Well, hopefully, at least the Board of Finance
Board of
can watch
Finance.
this.
Yeah.
Right.
And hopefully if you guys
Exactly.
do end up with new members, they can watch this and you don't have to then go through it all again. And they can hear about all your experience, so thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
Any comments from the public? All right, if not, Could I get a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of August 13th, 2025?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Nope.
Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Correspondence, so, yeah, I was shocked by this. But okay, we have 4 applicants for planning and zoning.
Do we have good comments from the public?
Yeah, she just,
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, I missed it.
Carl Barty Jr., David Resendez, Lindsay Pike Fairchild, and Morgan Yandow submitted applications for the Planning and Zoning Commission. Bob Ulrich requested being moved from an alternate to a regular member of the WPCA. Kevin Burns withdrew his application to the K-12 Building Committee. Stephen Adams submitted an application requesting to be moved from an alternate to a regular member of the Zoning Board of Appeals. Then under reappointments, Economic Development Commission, could I get a motion to appoint Alina Rossini to the Economic Development Commission?
so moved.
Second.
Discussion?
No, you said reappointment, is she?
Appointment.
Yeah, I was
Sorry.
confused.
Yeah,
I thought,
appointment, sorry.
because I know she came in and talked to us.
Yeah.
And it sounds like a great, she'll be a
Yeah.
great addition. It's a
And there's
relatively
still
new
some
resident. Yeah.
openings, yeah, new resident, and it was great. Yeah, they came to a board of selectmen meeting, so it was nice. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Do I hear a motion to appoint Robert Perry to the Climate Change Task Force?
So moved?
Second.
Any discussion?
No?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, Jennifer, thank you for bearing with us. So Jennifer came in today to discuss, Jennifer, who's our Director of Assessment. She's here really to answer any questions that you all might have. I think you each reached out to her individually, so I'm not sure if you have many questions, but she is here and able to answer any questions you guys have.
No, I thought the summary that you sent out was great. And as I said, you answered my questions. I was confused by one thing, but she did answer, so I'm all good with that. I just, think it's important for you to highlight that too for the public. I mean, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, I guess just verify, our conversation that the resolutions that are drafted reflect basically items 3 and 5 in the House Bill 7287, of the 5 recommendations or possibilities or choices, I guess you could call it. So number 3 and number 5 were the...
And number 4 as well, correct? And I don't believe we have any Gold Star families, but...
I don't, to my knowledge, at least up to date, we have not had anybody come in that has identified themselves as being Gold Star family. So I don't have any numbers to add to how that could change the numbers that you currently have. But my understanding was those were the 3 options that the board was looking to consider, would be the allowing it for those that have individual unemployability,
Yeah.
due to a service-connected disability, the Gold Star families, and then implementing a cap, which would then be tied to the assessed median real property value, and across all 3.
Across all 3, the cap, okay.
Wasn't I'm confused because I thought that the item 3, the cap, based on the, is it median?
Median, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that could simply be voted on by us without having to go to town meeting.
It can, but since we have to send the other ones to a town meeting, and because it might be seen as a, more sensitive issue, we thought since we already have to have it, the other 2 go to a town meeting, why not just, put them all forward, and not feel like we're just trying to make it, I guess it just felt weird. And I think in talking with Jennifer, it seems like the state may have made a mistake in the way they wrote the legislation. It was not necessarily intended to be like that. So again, if we were just doing one and I wouldn't say we need to go to a town meeting just for it, but since the other 2 have to go, to me, it just made sense to allow residents a chance, and not like we're not trying to hide anything, and we're standing by the decision and the rationale behind it.
mean, and it's
Yeah.
millions of dollars impact. So it seems to me if we're making a decision on something, if it's millions of dollar impact, the town meeting seems like maybe a more
I don't know, I guess I feel sort of the opposite on that. I think because it's so much money, and I think, and I wasn't here at the last meeting, I did watch the video, so
Yeah.
I'm privy to the conversations that you had, and I did have a conversation with Jennifer. But I get the feeling that we do want to limit it, at least this board, and we
Yeah.
want to limit, the fiscal effects of this legislation as much as possible, and as much as we do want to help veterans, we want to help them to a point. So I would feel very comfortable in us voting on item 3. That's just my opinion. Without sending that to the town meeting.
And sending the others.
What do you think?
I mean, I'm.
I mean, I just, because I feel strongly enough about it.
It is a lot of money, and I
Yeah.
think that the state made a mistake, and they,
David?
haven't considered this. It's impacting so many towns and cities that,
Yeah, no, they did make a big mistake.
I mean, I don't know, if you said you feel like the legislator didn't want us to be making this kind of decision, I mean.
I think that, as I had spoken at the last meeting, when Public Act 2446 originally passed, it was passed on the fiscal note of it only costing the entire state, so inclusive, all municipalities, $4.9 million.
Yeah.
Stonington, for the 25 grand list right now, and the due date isn't until, the deadline is January 1st, so there's plenty of time. But we're up to 13 million just for Stonington. So they understand that the fiscal note was run on very different metrics. And the sense that I got from the discussions we had was there was no consensus at the state level on how to address that. There were multiple, I want to say there were probably about 25 bills exclusive to just Public Act 2446 that were raised in the 25 session, just regarding this one exemption. Half of them had to deal with, is there any funding the state can provide? Obviously, that didn't go anywhere. What ended up coming out was, I think, because they could not come to a consensus on what the best way to move this exemption forward was to leave it in the hands of the municipalities and allow the municipalities to decide on an individual basis what they can and cannot afford.
No, I mean, I think Ben raises a good point, because I mean, on one hand, it's like, we know the responsible and right and kind of fair thing to do for the community is just to implement the cap, and like Jennifer shared at the last meeting, I mean, this is like unheard of, even like around the country, to not have some sort of cap or income threshold tied to it. So I mean, I do, to that point, like I think it is kind of like, this just does have to happen.
Yeah.
And then we could send to town meeting the other two, because there are more options and they are potentially increasing the threshold. But at the same time, I tend to just want, if we're sending one thing to a town meeting and they're all the same theme, like to send it. So I'd say I'm pretty torn on it.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I'm comfortable with
Yeah,
us
I don't know that-
using the authority that we're granted to.
I mean, I don't think, could we wait to decide at the next meeting, or would we need to
So
decide
the
now?
next
for-
meeting is when we're sending
Sending it to
everything to the town meeting, so you could.
We could
push-
wait
You could say you're not sending that one,
Okay,
but I would
Why
just, my only concern would be if you're deciding to vote on it, even if you're voting on it at the next meeting, I really think we need the opportunity to speak to our local veteran
Yeah.
organizations, just to let them know the impact that might be coming, and just to make them understand why the town feels the way that they do, just so that
they're not
the
called
veterans that are, getting those exemptions are aware that this change might happen. Just so they have a heads up.
Yeah,
So-
we don't want to catch them off guard.
So certainly then giving them a heads up before we decided if we're going to even vote. If we say, okay, let's vote on it next time and send the rest, at least
We
have
need
a
to do it
chance to
before.
give
We,
them a heads up.
our goal after this meeting was to
Reach out.
start reaching out to some of the organizations, just to let them know that this was in the pipeline, so,
What meeting will that be, that we'll vote on?
our next Board of Selectmen meeting is when we're voting to send
Next
all of the
September.
items, September
24th.
24th.
Okay.
But we could, why don't we, maybe let's sit on it, and you guys could each
Yeah,
email
we're
Stacy
gonna-
separately, because I think either way, like Stacy said, we had a plan to reach out to the Pawcatuck and
I mean, I
Mystic
like the
VFW.
idea of reaching out to them, because I don't want it to come across as negative to veterans, because I'm very, very supportive of veterans.
Yeah.
But I also think that this unintended cost is, I mean,
It's not fair to all the other.
it's not fair to anybody else.
Yeah, it's not fair to the other veterans.
It isn't,
Exactly.
it isn't.
It is, it's just, I mean, it was just an improperly,
Yeah.
drafted bill. We
It
have
would
to
just
deal with
be
it now.
helpful if each of you, like, if you really feel strongly, just so I know in advance, because I have to make legal ads and things like that, so if I'm pulling that off, it would be helpful to know before September 24th, because I have to have that stuff prepped and ready to go.
I'd
by
ask maybe
sign.
like, I think even just like if by next week, if you,
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
you
No,
feel that way, so I think.
Yeah, I don't,
Yeah,
I probably
I
won't
know.
change my
Yeah.
mind. but-
Yeah, so Debbie, if you want to take a few days, and I
Okay,
will
let
too,
me-
because.
Let me think about it, because as I said, I, had been in agreement with what you said at the town meeting, but I do think Ben raises a good point that we are
No, it is a fair point,
responsible,
it's kind of like.
Yeah,
fiscally
because I mean,
responsible.
it's that much money that we
Yeah.
feel that strongly about it. I think we should
Yeah.
be able to,
We do
take
have
the
the
heat for it.
authority to do it.
And I think the next Board of Selectmen could probably overturn it, couldn't they?
Yeah, that's a good question. Could another board overturn our decision?
Like ordinance? Like if it-
No, if we pass.
So if we
like,
pass this
capping it.
exemption,
Jennifer, do you know, like, is there wording in legislation where, like, if a current board says we want to put in a cap, could another board vote to remove the cap?
Once it's an established local ordinance, I'm not entirely, that might be a question for the town attorney, because I am not sure what most local options are by the town's legislative body. Fairly recently, the motor vehicle depreciation, at least in terms of assessment, because that's mostly, obviously, my wheelhouse and what I deal with, I'm not entirely sure on other ordinances, but only recently have they started allowing it by a vote of the Board of Selectmen. And I'm assuming, so don't take my word for it, but I'm assuming that the reason why they did that with the emergency certification was because of the time-sensitive nature of the issue. But once something becomes a local ordinance, I am not familiar with what the process is on how to repeal it, because I would assume that if it was done by vote of the legislative body, I would imagine it would have to be by a vote of the legislative body to remove it.
Right, but if it's a vote
But if
of the
it's-
Board of Selectmen, then it's not an ordinance.
Right,
Yeah.
and it is an ordinance, so if
They're
you
just
look at
kidding.
the language in the law, it
Mhm.
does say it's a local ordinance, so it would it would be on the books and recorded, I assume, in the town clerk's office as a town adopted
Oh,
local
okay.
ordinance.
But then that
but that doesn't make
because
sense.
they can't adopt ordinances.
Yeah.
just
But
like
that's
on
what
their
Jennifer's
own.
saying, they did a carve-out in this legislation, like the motor vehicle one, saying in this one exemption, the board can approve a local ordinance.
I mean, the law is written as
bizarre.
a local ordinance, both
Yeah.
the e-cert that talks about the alternative motor vehicle depreciation,
Yeah.
as well as these, the way that it's written, in the Public Act is as a local option. It specifies that this specific local option can be adopted via a vote of the Board of Selectmen. However, it's still being, the term of it being local ordinance is still there. So I would assume, again, that would be for the town attorney, I think.
To
What
overturn.
about, is it OLR? Is that the right acronym for the legislative research
Yeah.
body? Would they be able to answer that?
I know, because when you're getting into we have, for instance, like Stonington has a charter, other towns have other, I think it would have to be in accordance with that. I'm just not entirely sure on.
Yeah. We can ask, but we can ask the
yeah, we
attorney.
can find that.
You know,
Yeah, 'cause that's a
past
good-
experience, every time we reach out to an agency like that, they say, ask for a town attorney.
Yeah.
We can't provide legal advice, even when they write the legislation. So yeah, we can check, because that's a good question. So we'll try and get that answer pretty
Okay,
quickly in
yeah,
case
yeah.
that changes any thoughts, but
Okay.
no, but it's a good point. So let's, if you don't mind,
No,
I'll give
no,
myself a
that's-
deadline of early next week.
I
but-
will as well, yeah, thank you.
And then just so you know, yeah, we will, it would be good to know, because in addition, we were going to give the veterans that we reached out to a heads up about the town meeting. I think instead we'd give them a heads up about that we'd be
Yeah.
discussing it at the next meeting and then sending it to town meeting just in case. But we're also offering, like, for Jennifer to sit with them, for me to sit, if they
Mhm.
want to talk more about it. Okay, so that's it on that one. Any other questions for Jennifer?
No.
not right
Thank
now,
you so
but
much.
I'll
Don't
reach
feel
out.
like you need
Thank you, though.
Don't feel like you need to say, although if you want to say just for this next one, in case there's one more question.
Yeah.
Avalonia Land Conservancy requested for a tax abatement. So as we discussed at the last meeting, Avalonia is a nonprofit that's seeking a tax abatement for newly acquired open space. This request is expected to move to a town meeting in October. This is something we've done in the past, and luckily Jennifer's here if you guys have further questions on this one. This was just kind of an FYI and wanted to give a chance for any questions.
So our only action then is to forward it to a town meeting?
Yes.
Okay, I
Yeah.
thought that we had some responsibility.
Yeah, because, again, I think we should do this. However, I understand that the way our charter's written, it has to go to a town meeting.
Yeah. Thank you. So no questions for Jennifer? We could really let her leave.
No, I'm good with it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Oh, wait, where am I going? Okay, new business. Thank you. So under new business, thank you. We are going to add, or can I get a motion to add the resolution for a brownfield assessment grant to the agenda? So this is just a motion to add it to the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
About adding it to the agenda?
Yes.
Or about the?
Just about adding
No
it to the agenda. It'll come at the end. All right. All those in favor of adding it to the agenda?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, Jill, thank you for waiting. Update from solid waste. So yeah, this was a request that came a few months back for Jill to give just like a brief update on the amazing work in solid waste and a chance for you guys to ask questions. So Jill, do you mind coming up here? Only if you feel up for it. Thank you for coming in tonight. And then after this, we will have Marisa, and then just a few other.
So this is just a Q&A, no presentation?
Well, it's,
She always got. She's
I
always got
wanted to
something.
Yeah,
keep
that was
it
too
brief,
easy.
and then so much has happened, so just cut me off if it gets too long. So, everybody knows we went to a new commercial hauler. I think my department and I will always remember January 10th as the day that Frank left us. So where we are right now is January 1st, 2025. We have signed a 5-year contract with CWPM. The rates for the next 4 years were bid lower than Frank Crandall's proposed bid for 25-26. And part of this contract had all households getting the 95-gallon carts for the contract. So the 95-gallon carts weren't the only changes to the service as we started implementing this new commercial collection for our residents. We did realize that the contract with Frank did note that the trash must be placed on the street on a public right-of-way and no cans larger than 35 gallons would be collected. After 21 years of Frank collecting trash, we found out that he gave free backyard service to many individuals that were elderly, physically challenged, or had long driveways. He had separate backyard service accounts charged at $20 a month for over 20 households. And residents used the containers of their choice. Some were 95 gallons, and the only time we heard from Frank is when they were too heavy, and he couldn't move them, and then we would call the resident and tell them they were too heavy. He also collected clean, flat cardboard from a few businesses, and no limit to how much a resident could put out. He collected this cardboard separately, and when it was brought to his facility. The businesses now use Casella. They are no longer picked up by CWPM. CWPM doesn't provide any backyard service, won't collect on private roads, and won't collect trash or recycling not in their carts. Some of the households on private roads are grandfathered. We're calling them grandfathered. They've been private roads for decades, so we are providing those private roads.
Like Mason's Island?
Wilbur Road,
Briar
Patch, some of those areas.
Briar Patch is private.
Wilbur Road is private. But we are, so we are going down there. Summertime Drive is the new E.G. Homes development that was on the books prior to CWPM coming in. So Summertime Drive, E.G. Homes will be collected.
Where's that?
off Mary Hall.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, so those houses down there. Service was reduced with regards to recycling, which now takes place every other week. There's Schedule A, Schedule B. We did have received feedback from some frustrated residents, but we have sold 40 additional single-stream blue carts at $100 apiece to 40 households, which Jill and I, or my staff, delivered to the resident.
That's just so they have more capacity.
Right, so CWPM said that they would allow them to, they would pick up 2 carts, but it was up to us whether we would charge for that. So it's $100 a can. Jill bills them out, and we deliver the can, and it'll be picked up by CWPM.
And just to clarify, in case people get questions, it's still only every other week, it's just on that every other week?
Oh, yeah, it's still every other week, it's just not, they now have 2 95-gallon cans that they can fill up.
And they pay a one-time $100 for that can?
That's it.
Okay, so I was confused.
Has there been given any thought to, in the future or present, to expand that service to every week where we have?
I will say that it is costly.
Yeah,
It's over $250,000 to have it weekly.
yeah. I don't know how that beats out as far as comparatively.
You know, CWPM has left it open for us. We do have a contract, but it is something that we could discuss with them.
Yeah, but something that could be negotiated, and it's not just, the reason I bring it up is it isn't just a question of volume, although that is a problem for some people, particularly with smaller barrels. But also just remembering which week it is. You know, I have to schedule.
Yeah, my question is, what happens after the end of the year once my schedule is done? How do I know next year what one?
And also, if you
I
miss
think
one-
everybody's going to stay, if you're an A, you're an A forever.
Yeah.
But like, so I just have to figure out what week I'm on, because right now I have it shows me on a month, okay?
Yeah.
You'll get a new calendar
Oh, okay.
provided by CWPM at the beginning of every.
Yeah, so there's the issue of, you know, we have to go 2 weeks, and obviously capacity can be an issue. But then if you miss that 2-week period, then all of a sudden it's a month. So
And we're
really
open
becomes a
6
problem.
days a week at the Stonington Transfer
Yeah, it's
Station.
fine for
And
me,
you
I
can
don't
come
care.
on down anytime you want.
I think it's something that.
I'm just saying, it's something
yeah.
worth pursuing.
It is.
Jill can talk about, during her budget presentations next year at the Board of Finance, to just show the numbers, and that can be an option that's.
And it can be an option if the Board of Finance agrees with it and there's enough
residents.
push
come
for
out,
it.
yeah.
I will say it is starting to come down a little bit, so as people get used to it, utilizing the transfer station more and learning how to flatten their cardboard a little bit more, and so it is an option. I mean, we're not set in stone. CWPM's been very good to work with.
Yeah.
So
Perhaps it could, as I said, perhaps it could be a negotiation.
yeah. Most of the people that are complaining about every other week or the size of the carts, they are heavy online users. It's definitely Amazon and purchasing online. It is.
Yeah.
It's cardboard, it's people putting styrofoam and packing peanuts, and that fills up their can. So that is one of that. We do have some problem with contamination in the single stream. We are working on that. We've got a new folder brochure coming out that's going to help residents. We get everything from tennis balls to metal to sheetrock. People throw everything in their blue bins, so we're working on that as well. For the cart distribution, just to let you know kind of where we are and what we've done, as of April 1st, 7,537 sets of large carts were delivered. We did have residents opt out on day 1. By the end of the month, residents demanded an alternative, smaller carts. And CWPM provided 150 sets of 48-gallon smaller carts at no charge to the town. And they delivered those to the residents. Preference was given to residents without storage space, the elderly, residents with mobility limitations, and those with long driveways. We have received an additional 560 households that have requested smaller carts, an additional 54 residents just a smaller trash car. So in total, the first distribution of the small carts was 1,474 small carts. CWPM didn't charge the town for the initial 150 sets swapped, but we were charged $75 a cart for the remaining carts. The $75 was the cost of the cart, freight, CWPM staff collecting the 95-gallon carts and replacing them with the 48-gallon carts. So my department really didn't have to get involved in that swap out. It was handled by CWPM. They also changed some of their routes from automated collection to rear loader. The borough, Mason's Island, Lord's Point, Latimer Point are all on what we call the older style trucks, the rear loaders, so they don't even have to use carts right now. They can use the container of their choice. So the cost of the additional carts came to $88,050, and it will be paid over the course of the contract, which is 12 months, and it will be paid mostly from our NIP fund. I've got a pretty good amount of money in the NIP fund that we've been tapping into for other benefits. And so I think we can probably cover most of it with that money. If not, some of it can come out of my budget. And if it's that bad, I'll have to go to the Board of Finance to ask for an appropriation. I was in the right place, right time, and I did get 57 sets of smaller carts just recently. My staff picked them up out of New London, and my staff and I and Jill, we delivered them, swapping out smaller carts. So right now, we're left with 39 households waiting for a small cart. 20 of them live in the borough. So the borough right now, being that they can use any container, they're not really high on the preference list, but they are requesting the smaller carts.
Julie? Yeah, I would think that they would be at the bottom of the list
Well,
if they don't need the carts.
I didn't say it, but yeah, they're not on the top of the list. We give preference. If we have somebody that's elderly, really having trouble maneuvering, as I said, right place, right time, there were people on our list that needed those carts and we got them to them. So going forward, however, we'll probably have to have a discussion of when do we cut this off? Do we continue to offer 48-gallon carts for all of our residents, or do we stop it and somehow look at a different way to fund it? But once I get a quote back from CWPM on me picking up the cans and my staff delivering them, it should be less, and we can talk about it further on that. So,
Yeah, as long as it's well publicized before you start the program.
and that can be a problem, because a lot of people, if it's well publicized, everybody wants it. And there's really not a lot of reason for some people. You know what I mean? We have a lot of people that we take their 95s, if we give them a 48, they call us the next day and they're like, these are too small, I need my other ones back. And that's happened a lot. So it's hard, you know what I mean? It's hard on my staff and it's hard on us, so. With the pay-as-you-throw, the yellow bag, we always knew there was some non-compliance, but not to what extent. Cameras in the hopper of the CWPM truck takes a snapshot of the load as it falls into the truck. Jill sends out more than a dozen non-compliance notices a week right now. We've had 130 non-compliance notices in 2 months. I don't know if it's the cans, if people are trying to get away from it, or if it's summer. We have a lot of Airbnbs, we have a lot of summertime people coming in, so there is that little bit. So we'll see now that summer's just about over, we'll see if that changes. Some landlords get quite concerned when they get the notices, and they've been speaking to their residents, which has been quite helpful. We do have a couple of houses in town that we have some language barriers that we're working on, and it might be the best bet to get them to have dumpsters. So there's 4 large tenement houses that we're just having trouble relaying how to recycle right and the use of yellow bags. We did have one resident find out after receiving notice that a neighbor across the street was dumping her white bags in his trash can in the middle of the night, and that was a lot of fun to deal with him. Yeah, he stayed up all night to find her.
Isn't that a police issue?
He threatened it to be, yeah. She stopped immediately after he took some pictures of her, but that's what she was doing every week, was running over in the middle of the night with her white bags, which is funny.
So are these people getting fined or?
Not yet. What we say is, the first is a friendly reminder. The second one is a little more dunning to say, you do it again and we're gonna stop your service from, we haven't gotten anybody on a third notice yet. We do have a couple places with 2, but we can stop it. We'll pick up the can and we'll stop it, so. And we've had quite a few requests for 95-gallon yellow bags.
Well, I was gonna say, that's the one challenge we're having. I can't reach in there, so I
Yeah.
put my yellow bag in, I can't reach. So you have to kind of wing it,
Oh, I
although
have to
we've
use my
tried
old
command
trash
hooks
can
on the
and then-
side.
And then take the
Yeah.
bag out.
But
and
we
put it in.
asked, don't you use a small yellow bag in your kitchen trash or in?
No, we don't have kitchen trash,
It just.
we don't have that much trash. We
Yeah.
have a bag in there. Once a
Because I
month or
hear
something.
that frequently, and I don't know how to get around that, because these are big carts.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, I don't know how, that
Well, we're
is,
trying the command hook now. You put the command hook in, you put a little hook on it,
Okay.
and it kind of holds your bag there.
yeah?
I know, we'll see how it works.
All
How about a
right.
48-gallon yellow bag
Ooh.
that fits the 48-gallon?
That's a possibility. We'll have to
Because if
find
you don't
out
have to
how
actually
much
pick
those
it
bags
up
are gonna be.
yourself,
Yeah.
it's not that bad.
No, as it
Yeah.
is now, I've got to put the,
Yeah.
fill it up in a smaller container and then
Dump
take
it,
it out and
yeah.
put it into
Yeah.
the,
So that's, we can,
For short people especially. I mean,
thanks to him.
I live in Norwich, I do the same thing.
I mean, there obviously is some kind of a solution. I'm just
Yeah,
saying, that's
yeah,
the
we're
only
just trying to
challenge.
find out what that is, so we are working on that, but it is calming down, so I think it'll be okay going forward. For the commercial collection, things are pretty the same. The department currently bills out 440 business customers. It's an increase of 17 customers due to Frank leaving and finding out that they were in our residential. And we also have a meeting next week with Casella as they're promoting food waste diversion for some of our businesses. And they push that a lot more than CWPM, so it's nice that they're our commercial hauler. So they're gonna come down, Brett Mastroianni, yeah, it will be coming down, and so it'll be very interesting. I'm excited to hear what he has to say. We'll get the schools involved, we'll get the businesses involved, Stone Ridge, McQuaid's,
Get
and
the
Mystic,
Seaport,
you
get
know,
the
the
aquarium,
Seaport,
get the big-
exactly. So this is pretty exciting, and we're gonna find out how what they plan.
While you're on Casella, Casella, right?
Mhm.
Commercial,
Mhm.
is there any change in their equipment or personnel, major changes? Because they've gotten really loud in the morning. I mean, it's always loud when they empty dumpsters at 6 o'clock in the morning, they're in your bedroom window, but I've just noticed
Is it
around
6?
Murphy
Because
Point.
we
Yeah,
did have
it's
a...
before 6:30, it's between 6 and 6:30, and it's closer to 6 a lot of times on
Okay,
Monday
because
morning.
we did point that
Which is a tough
out.
morning to.
And we did ask for businesses that are in residential areas to be more conscientious of the neighborhood
Yeah,
and
and
not
they're-
get there till after
And they're just,
6:30.
you know how they tap them, they kind of slam.
Oh,
them.
they-
It's just,
yeah.
no, but it's gotten to the point where it's really,
Okay.
it's an increase over what it's been in the past as far as this.
Time-wise, or just the
No,
loudness?
the pounding of the
Yeah.
multiple pounding the thing to get whatever's in it out.
It could be just that one driver too,
Yeah.
that some of them, they all tip it differently. I've seen guys that it's stealth, and then I've seen other
Yeah,
guys
I've just
that...
noticed this in the
Okay.
last month or so.
Yeah, good to point out.
And then,
though.
there are probably 5 different locations on Murphy Point that are within earshot.
Right, yeah,
so-
right, so you're gonna have a
Jerry
little
going
bit
from
more,
one to the
so. So speaking of food waste, and our Scara food waste compost facility, so we've received quite a bit of good news on this lately. It is You probably know we're developing a commercial-scale food waste composting facility. It's located on the 6 acres of land that SCARA owns. That's right next to ReWorld, the Preston incinerator. It will be southeastern Connecticut's first large-scale food scrap composting facility, finally giving us local infrastructure to give us something to do instead of bringing it all the way to Southington or all the way to Johnston. SCARA received a $400,000 USDA composting grant and a $4.5 million grant through Connecticut Materials Management Infrastructure Grant. The site plans have unanimously been approved by the town of Preston, and the plans have just passed DEEP's technical review. So yeah, that's a good step. They did make a few minor adjustments to the layout, considering potential challenges to related odor and future expansion. These revised plans have been submitted to DEEP, who confirmed that changes are acceptable and will not delay the permitting process. On paper. Yeah, SCS engineers, environmental consultants, and contractors are the ones that have submitted the proposal for the final design and construction, and they're working with Black Earth Compost for the technical plan. So we're pretty excited. We're still earmarking August, September 2026. Might be a little bit optimistic, but we'll see how it goes.
It's not a lot of construction once they get.
No, it's not really. It's going to be just aerated static piles and bays. Black Earth Compost, they're involved in the final design. It will be a hybrid composting system combining aerated static piles and open windrows. Food scraps will be mixed with wood chips from our transfer station and placed into bays. The food scraps will come from transfer stations, local schools, and businesses. Casella will probably be involved in that if they're picking up our local food waste. It'll probably be heading up to SCARA, which would be great. Dave aims to divert approximately 5,500 tons of organics and 8,500 tons of wood chips annually. So we're pretty excited about something like this. We're now working with Black Earth, which has been great. On July 7th, Black Earth Compost offered residents curbside food waste collection on a paid subscription basis and provided food waste collection bins at the transfer station. And using NIP funds, we generously offered a bonus for people signing up. The first 200 folks signing up got 3 months free. And to date, we've had just about 150 residents have signed up for curbside collection. We have 64-gallon carts at the transfer station. We do sell biodegradable certified compostable bags at the town hall. They get 12 bags for $2. It's been pretty amazing, the people that are coming to the transfer station. In the last 2 months, we've diverted 11 tons.
That's great.
Do those compostable bags go right through the process?
Yes, they do.
At the new facility?
Yes. Black Earth Compost takes them, and they're composting them up in Framingham, Massachusetts.
Oh.
And they will go through the SCARA process, absolutely. So if those 11 tons were in a yellow bag, the town would pay $75 a ton to Lisbon, which is $825, and instead, those 11 tons were placed in 3 carts at the transfer station, where it cost us $480. So we saved $345. The program is new. We're just getting started. I think this is the way it is a good move for us. I think we're going to be able to divert a lot of waste. People that don't want to do the subscription service but have no problem coming up to see us and dropping it off. So we're also seeing, the town seeing additional savings from those curbside people that we're not paying for that waste as well. And that figure is not in that 11 tons. That's just strictly the transfer station. So we're pretty excited about that. One of the things we're working on at the transfer station is Printing Plus is creating a 5-foot by 4-foot aluminum sign. Easy to read, lots of graphics. Hopefully as people throw in their yellow bags and their single stream recycling, they'll take a look over. It'll pique their interest. and maybe get them to participate. So a nice clean area over there, we're gonna clean that all up, and that's what we're working on right now. The only other thing I wanted to say is how proud I am of my guys and girls that I have on my staff. Ever since the sudden departure from Frank, we've endured and learned a lot. Change is hard, and in the times we live in right now, it's even harder, but my staff has continually gone above and beyond to placate the residents and ensure them that having a 95-gallon cart isn't the end of the world. So we continue to collect unwanted carts and drop off additional carts, but we only do it once a week now. So as I said, it's starting to wind down, it's starting to calm down, and we're seeing signs that people are starting to get comfortable with this new program and new change. And last but not least, I'll leave you with a fun fact. We're easily on track to hit 100,000 people that have rolled through the transfer station this year. Yeah. We're at 90,335 cars that have gone through our transfer station right now, and we're averaging 400 a day.
And how does that compare to previous years?
If you go back 4 years, it's 30 to 50,000. It's like almost 50,000 people more and 30,000 people more from last year.
Which, spoiler alert, for a Board of Finance member in the room, we're meeting tomorrow to talk about a pretty urgent need for more help at the transfer
Yeah.
station. That will be coming over to you guys. But yeah,
They,
30 to 50,000 more visitors
yeah,
in 4 years is
yes.
insanity.
Yeah, and they're great. Like I said, I can't every single one of them. They go above and beyond every single time. I think a lot of people will agree that.
Oh, yeah, I know people
we've
are constantly saying.
got a good staff up there. They're very helpful. They're a little bit burnt out, but I think going forward, I think, you know, the worst is behind, and that's where we are. That's what we're doing. That's what we're working on, and.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Do you guys have any
That's it in a
questions or
nutshell.
comments?
No, that
for
was
Jill?
very comprehensive.
Yeah, I'll give you some stuff.
And Jill, just to echo what you said, I do want to just
This is
say,
what we're
Jill has
doing.
an amazing team, like she said, but she's also doesn't give herself enough credit and has worked so unbelievably hard and done so much behind the scenes. I mean, between resident engagement and negotiating with a brand new hauler and.
I have the patience of a saint.
Yeah. As one said, she has the patience of a saint, but you've gone above, beyond, and beyond, so thank you.
And plus being out there, I mean, it's not like going to a hazardous waste collection day in there.
In the rain, always
in the rain.
Oh, yeah, and I would gladly do that than going in people's backyard, pulling out their trash cans, trying to empty them into a smaller trash can, but, you know, we do what we need to do. And so, you know, it just puts people at ease. So,
Yeah,
Thank you.
quick question. Do I understand that you won't be servicing any new private roads from now on?
probably not. It's-
Contradicts what I heard in the presentation last night, that's all.
You were speaking about Liberty Street?
Maybe.
I don't know, can I say my opinion?
Yeah. so
Yeah,
you're
it's already
reviewing.
been submitted to planning.
I say no
Yeah.
for Liberty Street. It's a nightmare.
Yeah.
It would be 166 carts out on recycling and trash day. The driver will be in that development for nearly 3 hours.
But does that, but will that be
He
your policy going forward? I mean, is it, you can't just say that for one.
Perhaps we should.
I would
But
say, yeah, you.
Then
this is
create a
the way you told
policy,
us,
because
yeah.
this is, I'm getting phone calls now from a lot of people putting up, 11 townhouses here, another road of townhouses there. That's fine if it's only a strip and you've got plenty of room, but when you have a development like Rossellini's, it's tight. And they literally have to drive around in circles to get each
Yeah, but
side of the
it would
thing.
seem that you would have to have a policy that was consistent consistent with
We
all.
do, that's why we need to talk more about
Yeah,
it.
we
Because,
do.
I mean, yes, it's more units, but it's also, it's more units. It's more
But-
people that
But I
own the
will,
property.
I will
and-
also tell you that I field an awful lot of calls from people that can't store the bins in their garages, and there is a problem with that.
No, I understand.
So-
I understand all the problems.
And he's building a townhouse that has a 19 by 20 foot garage that I'm gonna get a phone call and they can't fit 95s, they want 48s. He's got a trash pad there that doesn't fit the amount of cans that he needs in the first building.
Yeah.
Um,
No,
So
but
it's going to
I
be
think it's a-
outside, and you're
It's
going to
gonna
have
be-
waste,
it's
it's going
gonna
into
be
the stormwater
outside.
directly into the aquifer.
Yeah, but it's got to be,
not
it's got to be
open place.
It's
a consistent
not-
policy. though.
And I'm gonna get, I would guarantee you that I would get residents calling about the noise. Because they're in there at 6:30 in the morning, they're in there for 2.5 hours, compacting and collecting bins. It's such a small area, you're gonna hear it on the other side. And they're gonna call and they're gonna
I think-
complain.
I'm sure we'll hear more about it.
Yeah, I think to Ben's point, we
Yeah.
have to talk offline
Yeah.
about the policy part, because we had talked about this when it first came around, but then it didn't pass, so we
A
didn't.
lot of the other developers have placed dumpsters and they've worked out quite well. So,
That's all
I mean,
that's
if
all
it is
need
something
hear.
that we need to do.
We just have to, Ben's point, I think we have to come up with a policy of what defines commercial development kind of versus residential and
Right.
where that line gets drawn for density concerns.
I agree, yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think we're
Maybe
having that
11 to
conversation.
20 is residential, but 83 to
It's
115,
commercial.
maybe that's something different, so. But we can talk further.
Thanks.
Okay,
Yeah.
Jeff, thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you. Maybe to end on just a really positive note, do you know the number off the top of your head with the plastic recycling, film recycling?
3 tons?
3 tons. People love the plastic film recycling, it's
Oh, yeah.
amazing.
3 tons. I know, I Google it all the time. How big is 3 tons of plastic? And it's like 75 feet tall and 13, it's big.
It's big.
So, yeah, but we've got the benches and we're now working with Avalonia
Just
on
nice.
placing them along the trails, which I think is a great idea.
Great idea.
So, yeah,
Thank you, Jeff.
that's it. All right,
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jill.
Marisa, thank you for your patience. So we're now discussing the final collective bargaining agreement with Connecticut Organization for Public Safety Employees / Connecticut Organization for Government Employees, known as COPS Local 13. So Marisa can give a brief overview of the agreement, and then we can see if you guys have any questions.
I won't try to be as exciting as Jill's, because that was phenomenal. So as Danielle said, this was the 4th and final contract to be negotiated this year. It was probably the most organized out of all of them. We had great collaborative discussion, and of course negotiated in good faith, aiming at balancing employee needs with fiscal responsibility. We were no nonsense. We got in there, talked about priorities, and both sides were able to listen effectively to what was important to both sides, and we believe that we came out with a fair agreement. So as I had stated with the last contracts, our goal was to stagger future contracts so that there wouldn't be 4 in 1 year for both the negotiating side. It's exhausting. It's also extremely expensive when it comes to labor attorneys, and we had 2 working on 2 agreements each. So it can be taxing and it can be confusing because they start blending together after a while. So we did land 2 contracts at 4 years, 1 at 3 years, and we were hoping for a 3-year contract with this one. You'll see we landed at 5 years, which is a bit unconventional for the town of Stonington. However, we do think it'll be very beneficial in the long run. It will provide stability for both staff and the town, allows us to better prepare for long-term budget forecasting, and reduces disruption and just having to negotiate. So when we sit there, there's 10 officers, 7 to 10 officers around the table, and then the negotiating team from the town side, so that it does take a lot of time and commitment away from these very responsible positions. So very excited about that. The wages, you'll see are in line with comparable towns, and we feel like the 3% was necessary to remain competitive. The first year will be adding a 3.25% increase to that top, 3.25% and then 3% on the top step to address the compression between those two top steps. These officers wait 5 years for the additional $900, which we didn't feel was very fair. So we increased that slightly. We level out at 3% and then increase to 3.25% at the end of the 5-year contract. The wages were set deliberately to attract and retain talent and without creating unsustainable burden for future budgets. We did have a change in insurance. The members agreed to steadily increase their share of the health insurance costs over the life of the contract. So the high deductible plan employee share raises from 17.5% to 19% by fiscal year 30. Again, it helps protect the town's long-term liability. We've also transitioned, or we will be transitioning effective July 1/26, everybody onto that high deductible health plan, which does benefit the town in the long run. The contributions start, the employee contributions start higher to encourage and kind of ease participation. It's a new plan. We had about half of our officers were on the traditional PPO, and we'll need some time to adjust and learn the ins and outs of the new plan. And then the employer contribution does step down in the later years just to balance the town costs out.
Excuse me, I just interrupt, but is it anticipated that lower contribution at the end of the contract would be something that would be carried forward in a future contract?
Yes, it
or
is.
even lessen, or?
Absolutely. So it is, the 50% is much more common with municipalities. You'll find that in both private and public sector that everybody is transitioning to a high deductible health plan, and quite often, especially in the private sector, there is no employer contribution. So the town is extremely generous in that fact.
It seems very generous. I can understand if it's to make a transition. But
It is in fact just to make the transition, and it was important to us to end the contract at that 50% so that future years would be more manageable.
Gives you a good bargaining
Yeah,
position.
set a tone. A couple of other items, we increased the starting salary to address recruitment challenges and keep us competitive. There was a lower starting rate while the officers were in training and at the academy, so we've increased that so that starting salary is a true starting salary. We implemented very modest shift differentials to fairly compensate for evening and midnight shifts. The shift differentials are extremely common. I've yet to find a PD that doesn't have shift differentials, and we were excited to be able to start some type of implementation of that for our officers here. One more thing with insurance, the town does offer an insurance waiver to incentivize employees with outside coverage to opt out, which will save the town money overall, so twofold. We've increased that waiver to encourage folks to drop the plan if they have the ability to obtain coverage elsewhere. The increase still does not compare to the cost that the town pays for the plan. So we're trying to incentivize people off of the plan, and also by switching to the high deductible health plan, people will be more involved, they'll be more mindful for what services they're going for, which providers they're seeing, and really be a lot more involved in the process.
Can they opt back in after they opt out or not?
Yes, of course, yes, we would have to allow that. I hope that that's something that people would educate themselves before opting out of the plan and then opting back in, but yes, it's
Yeah, spouse can lose a job. or-
for sure. So again, overall, I believe that this is predictable, moderate wage growth to keep us competitive. We've made some changes with the insurance, hopefully reducing town exposure in the long run, and ultimately beefing up recruitment and retention tools and operational stability with a 5-year term. But we believe that it was a very fair compromise, responds to employee needs, but also very mindful of town operations and the budget, and respectfully request your approval to move forward.
Yeah, thanks for all the work. I need to leave.
All right, let's vote on this, because this one's essential. Okay, so, thank you for all the work on this. So could I get a motion to approve the collective bargaining agreement with the COPS Local 13?
So moved.
Here, a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
No?
All right, all those in
Jen,
favor?
thanks.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion
Yeah,
carries.
thanks for all the work.
Thank you,
on that.
Lisa, all of these.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Take a break.
She's just leaving. Okay, we'll just keep going. Yeah, we can, yeah.
You can go out.
Yeah, thank you. Good luck with your meeting.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
next is just the annual request from Clyde Cider Mill to use the parking lot 49 North Wellington Road for overflow parking from September 1st to November 30th, again this season. Could I get a motion to approve the request?
So moved?
Any discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, no, wait,
Yeah, we
sorry.
have to make the motion.
I'm going to make the
You have to
motion.
make the
Can you
motion.
second
I
it?
second it.
All right, no, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Trying to speed through it.
I was just thinking of that thing.
The request, next one is for street number map 18, block 1, lot 33A to become 2 36-unit apartment buildings at 85A, units 1 through 36, and 85B, units 1 through 36, Voluntown Road, Pawcatuck, Connecticut. 1 clubhouse building at 81 Voluntown Road, Pawcatuck, Connecticut, and 1 maintenance building at 83 Voluntown Road, Pawcatuck, Connecticut. I'm going to make a motion to approve the street number assignments. Could I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
This is Reed Co., right? This is the,
It must be.
this is,
Yes.
okay. Yep. No other
No
business.
other giant things going on, yeah. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried, thank you.
Great, so now we have the new item.
Now we have the new item, but we can discuss all the, thank you,
To
did all
discuss
the
it.
work on this, so I probably should be asking you questions. So this resolution authorizes the first selectman, per all these other grants that we do, to enter into, execute, and deliver documentation regarding the DCD Brownfield grant of $177,000 for the Campbell Green assessment only project on the parcels of land adjacent to 27 West Broad Street and 15 Cogswell Street. I'm going to make a motion to approve. Could I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
So I can just give a
Yeah.
2-minute blurb, less than 2-minute blurb. Basically, this is an assessment-only grant, which means it is allowing the town to hire someone to do an environmental assessment, including hazardous building materials for what's left, assessment, so we better understand the property. Because we've, as you know, had developers look at it, and some have said, oh, we don't know, is this a contaminated property, isn't it? And we really don't have that information. There was an initial phase 1, but it didn't have any testing, and didn't really even identify any areas of concern. So this will at least allow us to become better educated about the property and potential uses.
That's awesome. And I love this program. I feel like we share our concerns about the state sometime, and this is one of those very positive lights in the state. Actually, they fund it, knock on wood, really well all the time, and it's nice to know that if you do an assessment, there's remediation money that can follow.
Yeah, so depending on what we find, and depending on what the interest might be, potential development, then an appropriate remediation, if needed,
Yeah, if anything.
could
Yeah,
be designed.
perfect.
I mean, sometimes it works out like Stillman, where we did the assessment, but you can't find anyone interested in it. But then, we're not paying to remediate. You don't want to remediate for a use that isn't appropriate. So.
Yeah. No, it's perfect. Thank you. All right, all in favor?
Hi.
Aye, much better. Thank you for all your work on that.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right, I'm tired. So I'm not going to really give many comments, but comments?
No, I don't. That was probably my comment that I was going to talk about.
Anything that I should share? I feel like, yeah, there's just a lot happening. I'd say just to share with you, I am doing, Stacy's helping me, we're just trying to book a lot of transition meetings. It's kind of sad, but it's also nice just to go over, kind of anything they want to be sure, like incoming people know, anything, like I have projects I just want to confirm that they're, whoever we're meeting with is good to be the lead on, kind of just, button up those things. So if you think of anything that you are concerned about, maybe just send them to Stacy, and then we can just be sure, projects that you've been working on, like, I just don't want to assume just because, Molly or Chris or whoever has been like leading or, been leading on something, I just want to like reconfirm with them and like what that means and who their support should be, and that kind of fun stuff. And then we're already working on SIP stuff, if you can believe it, trying to start like just prep for that. And then it's just been kind of hectic, right? Just kind of been frantic and hectic, but we're trying to just make time to get through things. DPW Nate and as foreman and his team, they've been amazing, and they're really pushing ahead with the VFW field and the circus lot. They're just, they've like taken these on like as their own projects, and they've put so much time and pride into them, and there's a lot of work they want to be able to do in-house, particularly with the circus lot, to save the town like potentially like 50% of the cost, at least of the like what we're looking at now. So I will be going to the Board of Finance in October to talk about that with everybody. And then VFW, things are, moving along, really just selecting the engineers to work with on that field, kind of do it right from the get-go. They were both here at a time when things didn't go right, so I think they have really good kind of, now they're in positions of leadership, and they really want Steve McNair and Nate kind of sharing the VFW stuff, and they've just been doing a great job. So
The boathouse is coming along fine.
the boathouse is coming along really well. Look, every time I drive by, I'm like, oh, it's coming along.
We had good news with we didn't think there'd be PCBs in that sample.
And there wasn't? Okay, good. Thank you for doing that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yes, so we'll see. And then I don't know, anything else? Whatever. We have a lot of things going on, but it's all good. All right, that's it. I'm
All right.
6:51. All right.
Adjourned.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you. Abrupt and awkward. That's okay.